Let's maximize our time. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so this in particular week's Torah portion is talking about the rulings. I'm talking about these are the rulings you are to present to them. Now, in chapter number 20, which I'm going to go back right quick, okay? So we're supposed to start chapter number 21 this week, starting on Yom Rishon, which is a few days ago. If you notice at the end of this writing here, the Most High was speaking to Moshe, okay? That's who he's speaking to. And he says this, okay? So the people in verse number 21, so the people stood at a distance, but Moshe approached the thick darkness where Elohim was. Put your device on mute. Thank you. So Yahweh said to Moshe, now listen, Moshe is going into the darkness. He went into the darkness. The children of Israel had declined to hear the Most High's words. So they went back to their tent. They said, you go up there and you speak with us. Like they just said in verse number, where's it at? 19, they said to Moshe, you speak with us and we will listen, but don't let Elohim speak with us or we'll die. And then he tells them, don't be afraid. Elohim has come only to test you, to make you fear him so that you won't commit sins. And so the people stood at the distance and Moshe approached the thick darkness where Elohim was. And so now he is approached to the Most High, him alone, and he's going. So 22 is continuing the conversation that the Most High had with Moshe. Okay, so Elohim said to Moshe, Yahweh said to Moshe, here's what you are to say to the people of Israel. You yourselves have seen that I have spoken you from heaven. You are not to make with me gods of silver, nor are you to make gods of gold for yourselves. Okay. And for me, you need make only an altar of earth. On it, you will sacrifice your burnt offerings, your peace offerings, your sheep, your goats, and your cattle. Now, and in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. All right. So what we don't want to forget is that the Most High is basing this relationship off of still bringing him burnt offerings. I don't want you to miss this, or peace offerings and sheep and goats and cattle. Okay, so he didn't say, and guess what? They're burnt offerings, which are called olah, things that rise up to him, right? And then the peace offerings right here are the shalom offerings. Shalomim, right? That's what you're supposed to bring in. Those are the two offerings that he was asking for. Okay. So when he says, I'm not rebuking you for your offerings, that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about sin offerings. None of these offerings here were for sin. So an altar is part of the relationship with the Most High. He said, for me, you need only to make an altar of the earth. I still want sacrifice because your fathers had sacrificed. Noah has sacrificed. I'm pretty sure Shem and all of them sacrificed, even though we don't have it written, they did. They understood what it was. Yah has always had an altar. Okay. So a lot of people want to get rid of Yah's altar. They don't want his altar anymore because they don't want the sheep and the goats and the cattle to die. But the Most High wants them as these offerings. He said, in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned or to be remembered, to be Zakar, I will come to you and bless you. Just like he'd done for our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Every time you turn around, they were building an altar to the Most High. Don't forget this, okay? So if you do make me an altar of stone, because I want it of earth, okay? Remember I told you he came on a mountain, right? Which is a har in Hebrew. He came on a mountain, okay? That's why he said, I want you to make me a Mizbeach, an altar of earth to represent the mountain. That's where he'll come down, okay? That's another reason why he said, if you do make me an altar of stones, so you got an altar of earth, you got an altar of stone. If you do have the stones, you are not to build it with cut stones. I don't need you to put your sword. Here it says tool, but in Hebrew, it's really talking about a sword. Don't put a sword to it. Don't strike it, okay? Because if you did, you would profane it. Okay, so profanation happens when you try to add to something Yah has made. Don't do that. Likewise, you are not to use steps to go up on my altar. Okay, so I don't want you to ascend up to my altars so that you won't be indecently uncovered. Okay, because all they had on were tunics, and under their tunics, they were naked. And so he's like, you guys don't come up. I don't want you to ascend. So what is he saying? Like being undecently uncovered. If you're walking on stairs, that means that someone else could see you. Not only he himself, he sees us, we can have clothes on, he still sees us, but there's something about our bodies that the Most High is saying, I need you to keep it covered. I don't need you to be in front of me a certain way. Don't be in front of me this way. Okay. And don't be in front of others this way. Okay. So I want you to see that as well. Now, what happened? Okay. Now we're going to go into chapter 21. Okay. In chapter 21, everything, the conversation is not stopped. So Mishpatim is not broken up from the 10 words. There's not. The 10 words was to prepare them to hear the Mishpatim. So what we need to understand is when we hear the 10 words of the Most High, okay, which they call the 10 words of the Hadavarim, which are called the Aduth. Okay, the Aduth is the testimonies. So you got a ayin and a dalet in there, and then you got a tav. Okay, so the ad right here is the witness. And why are they a witness? Because they heard the words that he spoke. Okay, so because they heard those words that were spoken, he's holding them accountable. Okay, but the first thing that he told Moshe was, tell them, do not make an image of gold or silver, of any metal image. And that's exactly what they did. So the punishment for that is what? What's the punishment?
Death.
Death. So tell me, Dr. Yared, why didn't they get this death?
They didn't hear.
Thank you. Thank you. He did not speak to these words to them. That's why he says, these are the rulings. And just like he just said in the end of 20, tell them, don't do this. Right? But he was going to wipe them out. Okay. So we're going to see that. So he already knew what it was. So they didn't hear. Okay. And do you remember what he said when Moshe said, well, he said, what the people have said is a good thing. That's what he says. It's expressed in Deuteronomy. He says what they have said is a good thing. It was good because he knew that if he was to speak these words and they would have heard those words about you should make an image of gold or silver, we would have never existed. That's why he said it's good that Moshe should come up to me. It's good that you guys would go back to you. And you're right, they would die. So the Most High is already fully aware about the people that he's chosen. Okay. I want to set the stage for us this week to let us know why the Most High is giving us rulings in Mishpatim. Okay. So the word for rulings is Mishpat. And let's see right here. Okay. And these, Ele, see that aleph in that top, that aleph in that lament right there? That's these, this paint pointing directly. This is the shepherd's staff. And the strong staff of this, I'm guiding them with these hamishpatim, okay, which are what they would call rulings in English, okay? The key word inside of this word, mishpat, okay? They have a definite article on it right here, which is the H, means the or the, okay? Then they have mish, M-I-S-H, okay? And then pa, and then team, okay? So when we break this word down, right? Let's just break it down. We have a root in there, which is called, where's my finger? Shafat. How did they do the T? They got the T right there. Shafat. And Shafat means to judge. Okay. Like a shoftim, okay, is a judge. A shafat is a judge, a shofatim is judges. So this mishpat, the letter M on the front, is telling you from judgment, okay, or from judging, okay. So the Most High is saying these things that I'm about to tell you are the judgments that I've decided to do for the children of Israel, which you need to tasim, you need to set them before their faces. I need you to give them a clear understanding about what I'm saying. Just like I asked you to put those words in front of them about my offer, that they would shemoah and they would shamar my words. Now I need you to set this in front of their eyes, because that's in front of their faces. Okay. So the Jewish people say that they have what they call an oral Torah. And they said the oral Torah outweighs the written Torah. And that's the reason they feel comfortable enough to change it. Now, not all Jews, just the Ashkenazi, okay, they think that the oral Torah outweighs the written Torah. But you and I both know that Yah wrote this with his finger. He wrote this. You understand? So everything that he's telling him to do, he's writing it. Okay. So it didn't look like the 10 commandments that they're giving us in Christianity. Okay. The written, okay, holds you to the agreement. It's evidence of the agreement. That's why he says that you are a witness. You heard what I said. Now I'm going to solidify that that's why I'm calling the 10 words the testimony. That's my testimony against you. The 10 words are the testimony that I did speak to you. Okay, because they can claim, well, I wasn't there, I didn't hear it. They can say, no, I wrote it down on purpose. A lot of people said he wrote it down because of the hardness of their hearts. That's a Christian concept. That's not the truth. The truth is the Most High put it in stone so it could never be changed. These words that the Most High is giving is never going to change. These are the words that he told Moshe to write down. So these are the words that he was going to give to the children of Israel, but they went back to their tents and they never heard them. So what does this mean for you and I? It means that the Most High is giving us a clue about what he's going to do for us later. He says, I'm going to, when I talk about giving you a new covenant or renewing that covenant, he says, I'm going to write the Torah, the instructions about these things. You're going to have the judgments on your heart. You're going to have the kukim in your heart. You're going to have all this in your heart. I'm going to write it down for you. Therefore, it will never be moved. Now, when he uses the term writing, he's talking about making your heart. When he said your heart is hard right now, what he's saying is, I'm going to soften up your heart so it can be like clay. When once I write it in your heart and your heart is soft enough, right, and it's pliable, I wet it up, I can write it in there and it'll be there forever. Just like I wrote it in that stone, I intend on writing it in your heart, which is in your mind. Okay. And not only am I going to do that for you, but I'm going to do it for your descendants after you. I'm going to give it to you guys. That's what I've always wanted to give you, is the Mishpatim. Now, the Most High is telling us what these judgments are, not only because they are connected to the Torah, okay, but they also explain the 10 words that he said. They explain the 10 words, okay, and he's going to give us some clues about that in just a moment. But I asked the Most High, why the judgments? Why are you sharing these judgments with us and with them? Why did you share this with them? And the first thing that came to my mind was this, because there's things in here about slaves, right? He talks about, slaves. He talks about, you working for 6 years and off the 7th year. He talks about theft. He talks about, some other areas of oxen and, sheep and all this. I said, well, what's the purpose? Why was this important? Why did he start off with this? Right? Okay. Which was this, not the first, but the first part was don't make any images. That was the number one thing he said. This right here is coming in saying, if you buy a servant, a Hebrew servant, he'll serve you for 6 years, in the 7th year, he will go out and pay nothing. I said, okay, well, what's this about? Why? The Most High is letting us know that the people, listen to me very carefully, the people they need to have a different mindset. They've been living in Mizraim for a long time, And what they have done is they picked up their customs and they picked up their traditions, and he's doing all these things. The very things that he's talking about is he's addressing issues that they've been experiencing while they were in Egypt. So while they were in Egypt, their people were being sold, but they were never released. While they're in Egypt, people's animals were killing people and not, and they weren't receiving justice. Because mishpat and judgment has to do with giving that which is a measure for measure. And it really has to do with what they call compensation. So the Most High is letting us know how he's going to change the mindset of the people. So how does this relate to us? Well, he's saying to us, well, you don't know my ways. You don't know how I think. I have to show you how I'm thinking and what I want for you in order to change the way that you think, because you're going to be part of my kingdom. Okay, so let's continue to read. So he says, if you buy a servant, which is a ved, which is a slave, okay, a Hebrew slave, 6 years, he'll serve you. In the 7th year, you should go off free and pay nothing. That wasn't the case in Egypt. So what are you saying? You mean I just got out of slavery and you're telling me that I could go back into slavery? So what is he telling us? What is the Most High telling us about slavery? It's part of what? Service, yes, is part of our culture. It's part of our life. It's part of our life. Some people say, well, slavery, we think of, very negative, right? But it's the same thing as a servant. It just depends on how you're being treated. Okay. This word if right here is not true. They put that there because they're hoping if you do it. No, it's when. It's when. And I'll hover right over the word so you can see what I'm saying. I click on it. Look. That, because, for, and when. Okay, the Hebrew word for if is this one right here. That's why you need to read Hebrew, so you'll know, oh, this is it. This is if. So how could key be the same as eem? They're not. So what the Most High is telling us is that when you will buy a Hebrew slave. There's different situations that are going to cause him in order to you to buy him. And this could be for several reasons, which he'll tell us later on about if someone stole something. If he stole it, see, he has to become a servant for you. For how long? It depends on when he pays, but he has to serve you for 6 years. And he's released in the 7th year. Okay, that's when he goes out. He serves for 6, and in the 7th, he shall go out. He shall go out of there on the 7th year, and he shall go free, that without any charges. Okay, and he's not going to pay anything when he goes out. Okay, because if you bought him, and that's another thing, you acquired him. This is different. Okay, see, you bought him. Okay, so I want to show you that you can buy him for something he did, or he can sell himself to you, okay, for service, which is totally different than this one. But in context, he's talking about when you got to go buy a servant because someone's poor or whatever, you can work with them a certain way. They could serve you for 6 years, and in the 7th year, they got to go free, okay? Number 3, if he came in by himself, Bagapo, he's going to leave by himself, okay? And if he is the Baal, if he's the owner, that's a Baal of his wife, he shall go out with his wife. Why? Why? Because his wife is what? What is she to him?
She's one with him.
Yes, but even more specifically, she is his possession. Now, I'm gonna say this is going to be some stuff that a lot of people they don't understand. I don't say they don't like it because they don't know what it is. Okay. That's the reason why the Most High, if a man has done something against the Most High, he would charge it to that man and his family. Meaning, like, we had an example when they came out of, Jericho, and he said, don't take anything. And a man did. They killed him, his wife, his children, and all of his animals and everything belonged to him. Okay. He said, was that contradictive of when he says that, a son can't pay for the sins of a father? He never said that the son won't experience the things that happens to the father. You see, it depends on the situation. Okay. But in this case, he's letting you know that if he went in with his wife, he's leaving with his wife. Okay. Because the master too, once the master becomes his master, he becomes the master of the wife too. Because he's mastering the master of a master. You see what I'm saying? He's the master of his wife. He then becomes the master of him. So now the wife is underneath him as well. Okay. Verse number 4. And this is a if his master, okay, listen to this. If his master has given to him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and the children shall be the masters, shall be her master. And he should go all by himself. Why? Why does the master get to keep the wife? Because the wife, the woman, belongs to the master. See, it doesn't belong to him. When we're under the leadership or subjected to someone, it belongs to whoever the master is the one who's in charge. If the master gives you something while you're with him and you're serving him and he gives it to you as a benefit, you got it right there, but it's only good as long as you're serving him. That's Yah's judgment. As long as you're serving him, it's a benefit to you. If you want to leave, you have an opportunity. He's going to tell us. Okay. So that belongs to him. So Yah's letting us know, if I'm your master, you belong to me. Whatever I decide to do with you is what I decide to do because I'm your master. One of the things that I did want to show you that I didn't like about this translation, because it's not really fair to all of us, is the fact, if you notice here, there's an MPC, okay? And it has a 3MS on the end, okay? The 3MS is this wa on the end. And that 3MS is talking about it or his, okay? Or it. It's like third person masculine singular. So what is the MPC?
Masculine plural common.
Yes. Masculine plural common. So how this really should read is if his masters has given to him a wife, right? And she has borne to him sons and daughters. Now, for example, he can put his wife or even his son over in charge over this person because he's the master. You see, you can have a master with another master over you as well. He can say, well, you know what? I've given you to my children, and they could tell you do whatever, but I'm still the ultimate master. That's what it is. Okay. But let me prove that. Let me prove that to you. Let's go to Deuteronomy 15 right quick. And let's go to verse number 12. What it says here is, if your kinsman, a Hebrew man or a woman, is sold to you, okay, he is to serve for 6 years, but in the 7th year, you're to set him free, just like we just read in Exodus, right? Moreover, when you set him free, you don't let him leave empty-handed, okay? But you supply him generously from your flock and your threshing floor and your wine press from what Yahweh Elohim has blessed you with, and you are to give him. And the reason for this is because he wants us to zakar. He wants to remember that you were a slave in the land of Mizraim, and Yahweh your Elohim redeemed you. And this is why I'm giving you this order today. Okay. But if he says to you, I don't want to leave, as we're going to see in Exodus, I don't want to leave you because he loves you and your household, and because his life with you is a good one, right? You is a good one. It's a good life. Then you're taking all, and you're supposed to pierce his ear right into the door. He will be your slave forever. Okay. And you do the same with your female slave. Okay. She wants to stay. You do the same thing. Okay. And of course, it says you don't supposed to resent him when you set him free, right? Because during the 6 years of service, he has been worth twice as much as a hired employee to you, right? He's been twice as much. So the Most High looks at Israel as being worth double what a regular person would be. That's what it is. And that's because they belong to Yah. Then Yahweh, your Elohim, will bless you in everything you do. That wasn't the one I want to show you. That's not where it is. Okay, let's hear. Okay, here you go. Leviticus chapter number 25. It says this. It says, verse 39, if a member of your people, which is your kinsman, right, has become poor among you, and he sells himself to you, do not treat him or do not make him do the work of a slave. Okay, so Israel is not supposed to be treated like slaves. Okay, rather, because there's a difference between the work of a slave and a work of a servant or a work of someone who's employed. So rather, you are to treat him like an employee or a tenant, even though he was sold to you or he sells himself to you. You're not supposed to treat him like a slave. He will work for you until the year of Yovel. Okay, this is another exception here, right? Depending on how long. Because if he sold himself to you, he sold himself to you for a certain amount of time. And this may happen because his land went bad, his family made some bad investments. It could be anything. He says, then when he leave you, he and his children with him and return to his own family, regain possession of his ancestral land. So in context, this has to do with the land. He says, for these are my slaves. I was talking. These are my slaves, whom I brought out of the land of Mizraim. Therefore, they are not to be sold as slaves. Okay, they can serve you, but they are not to be sold as slaves. And you do not treat him harshly, but you're supposed to fear Yahweh your Elohim. Now, he says, concerning the men and the women that you may have as slaves, you are to buy men and women slaves from the nations surrounding you. Okay, so this is part of our culture. So Yah knows that you're going to have slaves. Okay, you may also buy the children of foreigners living with you and members of their families born in your land. You may own these. Okay, so you get to own these, right? Here's the kicker. You may also bequeath them, okay, or bequeath them to your children to own. Now listen, for these groups, you may take for your slaves for how long? Forever. Okay, but as far as your brothers, the people of Israel are concerned, you're not to treat each other harshly. That means with cruelty, like you're a slave master. Okay, so that right there tells you something about the Most High. It tells you that the Most High says as part of your culture is for the nations to serve you. You don't do them, you don't hang them, you don't beat them, you don't rape them, you don't do all those things. They're going to serve you, and you can have them for slaves forever. Let's get some more though. Okay, here it is. Isaiah chapter number 14. A lot of people don't like this chapter. They don't like it, but it's the truth. It says, for Yahweh will have compassion on Yaakov. He will once again choose Israel and resettle them in their own land, where foreigners will join them. And they're attaching themselves to the house of Yaakov. So he's open for foreigners to join themselves and to attach themselves. Okay. He says, people will take and escort them to their homeland. The house of Israel will possess them in the land of Yahweh as male and female slaves. They will take their captors captive and rule over their oppressors. Then when Yahweh gives you rest from your suffering, your trouble, and from your hard service imposed on you, okay. And then it then talks about this song that they're going to sing about Bavel, and the last oppressor, still the arrogance is broken. So giving us a picture of what the Most High is saying. So slavery is part of the culture, okay, and in service is part of the culture. And I think it would be fitting to give you one more, and this is in Isaiah 56, to give you the idea about what's happening. Okay, so not everybody's going to be something to us, but you will be able to take them, okay, and have them and bequeath them and have them as a possession. Okay, Yah is going to talk about the foreigner. He says, here's what Yahweh says: observe justice, which is mishpat. That's justice, and you do what is right. Okay, yashar. For my salvation is close to coming, and my righteousness is being revealed. I'm going to reveal it soon. Happy is the person who does this, anyone who grasps it firmly, that means takes it with your hand, who keeps the Shabbat and does not profane it, and keeps himself from doing any evil. This evil that he mentions right here in Hebrew has to do with the hand. Okay? It has to do with someone's hand. Why is it evil? Why is the hand mentioned here? In context, what is he talking about? He's talking about the Shabbat. That's what he's saying. Happy and blessed is the person who does this. Anyone who grasps firmly what? With his hand, that's what you grasp with, and keeps and guards the Shabbat and does not profane it and keeps himself from doing any evil. That evil that he's mentioning there is just about the hand. Okay? He's talking about their hand. And let me show it to you. I don't like to tell you stuff and then not show it to you. I want you to see it so you can verify and say, well, did he make this up or no? I want to know. You want to, and then you could go back and show somebody like, well, look what it says here. The evil he's talking about is not just evil like, saying something. He's actually talking about doing something. So in chapter number 56 of Isaiah, he says this. Where's it at? Let's verify. Someone says something, verify. Ko Mariyawa do the Shemuru de Mishpat. There's your Mishpat for your Mishpatim. And Wa'asu Zedek for Ki the Kalrov the Yeshuatika. My salvation will lavo is coming. Okay, it's definitely coming, and my righteousness will be revealed. Okay. Let me give you the whole chapter. That would be great. All right. Now he says, Ashrei, meaning happy is the man, the Enosh, who what? Ya'aseh, who does this, the Zof, in the Uvain, and the son of Adam, who Yakazik, who grabs hold on Ba, what? The Shomer, meaning guarding, not just guard at one time, but guarding the Shomer, what? The Shabbat. And from, that's that mem right there, Kalolu, meaning saying that it's not worthless, and Ushomer, who is not keeping guarding his what? What did he tell you to guard? Your hand, your yado, from ma'asoth, from doing any ra. So he's letting us know a person that works on the Shabbat is doing evil. That's a person who's doing evil. And that evil right there, okay, is you're bringing misery and something that's bad and something that is dysfunctional. That's evil. 2 letters, a resh and an ayin. Okay. Let me blow your mind because I like to do that a lot. I'm going to put the resh here and I'm going to put the ayin right here. Those are 2 things. Okay. And then I'm going to put a word right here. And then I'm going to put the next word right here. What is this first word?
Shemaiah.
Shema. That's Shema. This is silent. What's the next one?
Shamar.
Shamar, which is to guard, which is right here. You see? These are the 2 things that the Most High told us to do. What did he say? If you would Shema, which listen and obey, and you would Shamar my covenant, then you would be to me a set apart people. You'll be a segula to me, a treasure from among all the peoples. But you and I have to do that. If you don't do that, then what you're doing is you're not fulfilling. Oh boy, look what he just showed me. The 2 letters that are here is this and this. A shin and a mem. Am I right? In both of those words. Okay. This is evil. If I take this word out here, it's called shame or sham. Okay. Shame is your name, meaning your character. Sham means where. And you get this from the Shamayim. meaning a place. Yah's words came down from the heavens. He said, I speak to you from the heavens to tell you about my character. That's the breath of me. The breath of me is my shame. It's my name. So I'm asking you to guard my name. I'm asking you to guard my reputation. Everything that I've said to you has to do with Shema and Shamar. That's why the covenant he told us, he says, Shema Yisrael. Listen and obey. Okay. So if we don't Shamar or Shema, then we're done. You're evil. That's what Yah looks as evil, because you're not guarding the place from where this was spoken, and you're definitely not guarding his character. You're not listening, because shame again means the breath. Your breath is your character. So Yah is speaking, right? And he gives us the breath of, he spoke to us, right? Out of heaven through fire. And he says, this is the shame. This is the breath of me. This is the essence of me. So everything that I'm telling you to do, I want you to put my name in it. If you live the way that I told you, you're guarding my name, the breath of me. Obey the breath of me. You see, if you don't do that, then it's evil. You see, so this is, he's saying, if a person is going to do this, they need to take a hold of me. I'm asking them to grab hold of me and grasp what I'm saying firmly. That's what he means by guarding. A foreigner joining Yahweh should not say, Yahweh will separate me from his people. Verse number 3, likewise, the eunuch shall not say, I'm only a dried up tree, because you can't have any more children. But here's what Yahweh says. As for the eunuchs who keep my Shabbats, who choose what pleases me, and holds fast with their hand to my covenant. What do you mean chooses what pleases me? They listen to what I say. In my house, within my walls, I give them power in a name greater than sons of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that will not be cut off. And the foreigners who join themselves to Yahweh to serve him. That's the reason why they're joining themselves to Israel. It's not just to Israel. They're coming to join themselves to serve Yahweh, because you and I are Yahweh's slaves. And they're saying we want to be slaves to him too, because we love what? What does the Torah tell us today? That I love my what? I love my master. Therefore, I love that. I'll make that pronouncement, and guess what he'll do? He'll put your ear to the side of the door, and you have to go to the judges to do that. And guess how long you're going to be his slave? Forever. That's the reason why he's telling us this. I let you go through your slavery because I'm going to show you how I'm going to correct your mindset, because everyone else is a slave as well. They're not free. For us to think that, and this is why slavery and service is part of our culture. That's why Yah says that you're my slaves. He didn't say my servants. He said Aved, meaning my slave. Moshe was a slave to Yah. We don't like that word, but it's the truth. You understand? That's what he's saying. He said, I will bring them to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house. And look, the burnt offerings, their burnt offerings. Remember, he told us, all I want you guys to do is bring me some burnt offerings and peace offerings. Their sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. Going back to the fact that he says, I have an altar. For my house will be called a house of prayer for all peoples. So if it's a house of prayer for all peoples, then we know that it's about making a connection. And the way that we make our connection to Yahweh is through our service to him, and also by bringing him offerings. Yahweh Elohim says, he who gathers Israel's exiles, there are yet others I will gather besides those already gathered. Meaning these people. You see? So they want to be slaves too. They have to understand what it means. Because you and I are in this to serve Yahweh. That's what he's telling us. So going back here in our Torah portion, he's saying, I love my master, my wife and my children, so I don't want to go free. Then the master will bring him before Elohim, because here it says God, but in context, the Elohim he's talking about here are the judges who are in charge of making these judgments. And you'll see that all through this Torah portion. and they're going to bring to the judges, not to Elohim. They're going to bring him to Elohim, the judges. And there at the doorpost, his master is to pierce his ear with an awl, and the man will be his slave for life. Okay. If the man sells his daughter, if a man sells his daughter as a slave, she is not to go free like men slaves. What? A man has a right to sell his daughter? Why would he sell his daughter? Somebody tell me, why would Yah says that you will sell your daughter?
Maybe he's in debt and that's a way to pay it off.
He is in debt. You see, he is in debt. Okay. Now, they use this term. I went back to the Hebrew to let you again show you something. If that's not true, it's when. Yah know who's talking. Yah is talking. Yah saying when a man yim quarter ishi's et his bito, his daughter, as a wa'amatha, as a slave girl, she'll never shall go out as does a male servant. So once she's done with her service, she either is being married, okay, but she's not just set free after 6 years and she gets to go. It doesn't happen like that, because this is different from them selling themselves, right? A man selling himself or a woman selling themselves. This is a father selling his daughter as a female slave for whatever reason, okay? And says if this is true, if she's ra'ah, if she is displeasing or dysfunctional in the eyes of her master, in which to himself he betrothed, okay? So now we see the connection, like, okay, so did he appoint her to him? So he bought her for himself, or he actually bought him or bought her for his daughter. I mean, yeah, to be a daughter to his son. See? And so let her be redeemed, right? You can't, she has to be redeemed. She has to be bought back. You can't just go ahead and sell her to a foreign people. They shall have no right to sell her because he has dealt deceitfully with her, treacherously with her. Okay. Meaning like the reason why he got her was because he wanted to sell her and make a profit off of her. Why? Because she was beautiful or yada, yada. He said, I want to marry her, but he never did. He can't do that. Okay. Then it talks about if his son, if he appointed to the son, verse number 9. Now, if he is to marry his son, then he is to treat her like a daughter. So now we understand again why this man has sold his daughter. In this context, it's either to marry this man or to be bought for his son, or he can serve, but then he says, okay, well, what do we do after her service? Well, she can't, she has to either be redeemed, she can't be sold, she has to be redeemed, or she has to be given to the man. And if he said, I saw evil, he can't sell her. He has to let her be redeemed by her family. Okay. Or he could say, I'm gonna give it to my son. But if he didn't have any eyes for her and he didn't like her, more than likely he probably wouldn't give her to his son. Okay. Now, then it says, if this son, listen, if he marries another wife, he is not to reduce. Excuse me, I skipped something. Yeah, then he is to treat her like a daughter. And what is talk about this word treat right here, and this is why I really don't like English. If we go back to the Hebrew in verse number 9, it tells us that, and if his son is to be appointed to her as according to the Mishpat. There's a Mishpat for this. It's not to treat. This is not treat. That's not what it says. It says according to the Mishpat, according to the, not the custom, the judgment, the ruling of daughters. So if you're dealing with daughters, there's Mishpat, there's judgments and rulings that a man has to be able to deal with his daughter. He's not lending her out for prostitution. He's not lending her out to make a whore out of her. He's not doing any of these types of things. He's saying, if you're going to have my daughter, you're going to pay me for my daughter. And my daughter gives service to you. You have to have a plan. Is she going to marry you or is she going to marry your son? Oh, you don't want to marry her? Okay, well, great. Then we're going to redeem her back. Here's your money back. Give us her daughter back. Okay. Because none of Israel's daughters are supposed to be treated like that. And so there's judgments for the daughters of Israel. according to the custom. Okay. And so the Most High is going to let us know what that is. He said he shall, I say, meaning to do to her. Then if he takes, meaning if this son or this other man takes a wife to him, right? These other areas of her food, her food and her clothing and her conjugal intimacy shall never be diminished. As it says right there, if he takes another wife, he is not to reduce her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. Okay. He can't do any of these. If he does any of them, if he fails to provide her with these three things, she is to be given her freedom without paying anything. She walks out of here scot-free. Scot-free. And people, well, how do you know that he's going to tell the truth? Well, because they're going to have to go to the Elohim of the people, as you're going to see, and which are the judges, and they're going to have to go to a council. And when they go to the council, okay, they're going to have to give what?
Testimony.
Testimony. And who are they going to have to give testimony in front of?
Yahweh.
They're going to have to give testimony in front of Most High. See? So these are Yah's words. This is what Yah's saying. Okay? The reason why I keep going back and forth is because I want you to see that this means that a lot of this stuff talks if. It's not always an if. Some ifs are there, but it's like when. So the Most High lets us know when these things happen. So Yah is letting us know that he understands what's going on with Israel. These were the things that were going on in their history of their slavery. So he's setting things straight. He's showing them that there's a difference between where you were and where you are now. The Most High is actually doing the same thing. He's letting us know this is where you are right now, but this is what it's going to be for you. This is what you're doing now, but I'm going to let you know what it's going to be. So you can understand, so you won't go to culture shock when you get there. Okay? Listen to this. He says, the Most High says, when someone is caused a man who strikes any other man and that man dies, surely they shall be put to death. Okay? Tell me why. Why did he mention whoever attacks a person and causes death must be put to death?
Because it's an eye for an eye, tooth for life for life.
It's a life for life, but what was going on? Why does the Most High know? Does he know that people are going to fight each other?
Yes.
Yes. Does he know they're going to attack? Does he know that this is what it is? Does he know this is in their minds? Does he know? Is he not showing them a better way? He's giving them the heads up. Now, let me ask you a question. When this is mentioned in verse number 12, when you think about the 10 words that they heard, how does that apply?
Well, it says you shall not murder.
Thank you. So now he's giving us the judgment. He's breaking down what that looks like. He's telling you what's the punishment for murder. He's telling you how it would happen. He says, if it was not premeditated, but an act of Elohim, then I will designate for you a place to which he can flee. So what is Yah telling us? What does Yah say in verse number 13? What did he just tell us?
That if we murder somebody accidentally, maybe there's a place of refuge that we can go.
Yes, but who is in an act of? Is there an act? Did he say accident or did he say an act of Elohim?
Oh, act of Elohim. Yeah.
So there ain't no accidents.
Yeah.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yah causes everything to happen. We're not in control of that. If he says, look, if he made it to where he used that person to kill that person, look what I'll go to the Hebrew. I know. That's what he says. He says, why I shared, meaning he's pointing directly, he's tying this action. He says, never did this person lay in wait. He was not a Zada, okay? A Zada, again, you can see right here, it has some of the same letters as righteousness, like a Zadik, okay? A Zadik is a righteous person. This is a Zada. And I've been telling us for the last several times of our studies that that means to hunt. Sadiq is a person who pursues righteousness. It comes from this word sada, which means to be a hunter. That's why he's saying a person who's lying in wait, who is going to prowl on there, or actually going to ambush somebody and kill them. If this person never tried to ambush this one, but it was an act, okay, a Wah Ha Elohim, the Elohim. He says, Inna, that delivered him into his hand. Yah can deliver somebody into your hand that he wants to get to. He says, then what Samati, I'm going to set for you an appoint to Laka, a makom in which you can Yanus, where you can flee. So who's in control?
Yahweh, the Most High.
Yahweh is. See, so if he used there and he says, remember I told you earlier today or this evening, Shema, Sham. It's right there. It means a place. So let me click on it. That's that letter, that Shem and that Mem right there. And that means a place. It's a destination. Okay, here we go. Sham. There, thither. Okay, it means there. And we get that from Shamayim. There, it's a place. Okay, it's a direction. Where it came from the heavens, there. Okay, that's what Sham is. But we have Shem, which is name. So they're connected, same letters. Okay, so Yah can put somebody in your hand and you'll kill them. And it was on an accident. I mean, excuse me, it was appointed. Yah set for you, for that person to be put in your hand. Okay. I would change that word from accident to unintentional. How about that? Verse 14. But if you guys remember a long time ago, about a couple of months ago, we did a teaching on Zid and Zud in them. Remember Zid and Zud and Azad, that family that was very presumptuous and they were always boiling over and they were frothing and foaming. That means you're just building up anger. So if a person has this and they're boiling like Zud, like a stew, it's called stewing. This man upon his Re'ehu, upon his neighbor to Harago, had to kill him. And he's dealing with treachery from my altar, because that's where he's going to run. You shall take him that he might die. What's an example of that? What was the name of David's commander after Shlomo told him? David told Shlomo, when I die, I want you to remember Yoav. I want you to remember him. Why? Because Yoav killed 2 innocent people. That's what he did. He killed 2 innocent people because he did a premeditated murder. And then when he got into it, he ran to Yahweh's altar to get mercy. And when he got there, they went back and told Shlomo, hey, he's at the altar in the horns of the altar. And what did Shlomo say?
I think he said to kill him.
He said, you kill him where?
At the altar.
You kill him right there. So they were following Yahweh's judgments. See? So I didn't say it was easy. Okay. Now, here's the tough part. We got 5 minutes left of your time. Let me read it to you. Whoever attacks his father or mother must be put to death. Okay. This word right here is not fair to people. It's not a fair word. Okay. When you look at that in the Hebrew, it's talking about, and this whole in particular teaching is talking about violence. So what the Most High is letting us know is that violence is not part of the kingdom unless the Most High has deemed it to be so. He's trying to get this out of the people. So if you know the judgment, you will more than likely stop doing it if you knew that you were going to die, right? Because back in Egypt, the people were disrespecting their parents and they were hitting their parents. They were doing all these different types of things. Marie keeps telling them, when you come out of here, you're not going to do what you did in Egypt. You're not going to be like everyone else around you. So all the other nations are doing these things. So Yah's letting you know this is what people do. Okay. But my people are not going to do this. A person who strikes umake, his avi or his imo, motumath, is the same words that the Most High has said in Genesis. If you eat of this tree, motumath, dying, meaning people die. You're going to die. You're going to die. Okay. This make right here is not just talking about striking. This make, and that means to cause in any kind of way. That means to push, shove, press, anything against your parent. Bump into, shoulder check, you're gone. You're gone. Okay. Now you might say, well, the mother and father may not go tell on their child. Who knows? The parent might kill him right there. They might beat him half to death. Okay. Or beat him to death. Okay. Because of the anger and everything. If they knew the Torah, they know that they got to die. And that behavior is what's the problem in Israel. So if a person who pushes, shoves, press, and try to body check their parent in any kind of way, grab their parent, talk strong and firm, you're gone. That's what Yah said. And let me ask you a question. Are children hitting their parents today?
Yes. Cursing them out.
Are they cussing them out? And
Yes.
are they just little kids or are they grown adults?
Oh no. Little and grown.
Are daughters fighting mothers and sons beating up their fathers?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So when he says that this is the judgment. So there has to be a measure for this. And so he's letting you know what the measurement was balanced about this. And we'll start right here. Or wait a minute, let me just read that little part. The measure is if you do this, you're going to be put to death. Okay. Whoever kidnaps someone must be put to death. So there goes the people who've oppressed us. You kidnapped us from somewhere, you're gone. They're got to be put to death. Okay. They're going to be put to death. Kidnapping, death. Regardless of whether he has already sold him or the person is found still in his possession. That person who kidnapped you got to be put to death. That's Yah's measure. Okay. They're going to moth you moth. Last one. Whoever curses his father or mother must be put to death. Okay. So you would say, well, I didn't cuss at you. That's unfair. This word right here is not doing a person any justice. If they don't know the Torah, you have to be able to explain this to your child that if you do something that you don't supposed to do, you're going to die. And here it is. The uma qualele. Okay. And this means to be swift, to be trifling, to be treat as with their words were light. That's why if you look at what he told us in our 10 words, what did he say? You shall what?
Honor your mother and father.
Now I'm telling you that if you treat what they said as being light, honor means heavy, hold with weight, and to be very careful. He's telling you if you treat them light in any kind of way, okay? And listen, also part of this word again is this kof and this lamed. Okay, the kof is to gather. And what's the lamed? The lamed is the staff of what? Authority. So if I'm telling you, and guess what the word kol is? Remember what kol is? Kol is the voice of the shepherd, okay, who uses the qual to gather you to the staff. The voice is used to gather you to what I told you to go and do what I'm telling you. The kolal is kind of like you're putting that double staff right there. So two staffs coming in the same hand means that there's some tension. That means that I'm no longer going to do what you say. I'm going to do what I want to do. You're negating this. You're saying that my staff, listen, my staff is against your staff. So I'm going to treat what you just said as nothing. Your voice means nothing to me. So cursing means like, F you or MF. I don't give a none of that. He ain't talking just that. He's saying if you speak even behind a closed door and treat what your father and your mother said as nothing, this is what he said, then you're going to what? See what he says. Moth you moth. Get that. verse number 17, and that is a stuma. So again, when you look at the 10 words, every time he says something, he would, one of those lows, you would get a stuma after it. So the Most High is connecting, which you can see the mishpat, the judgments and his rulings, his mishpatim, meaning plural. I'm telling you what that I said in the 10 words. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. You're going to get the death penalty in my environment because this is what you were doing. So this is why it's important for you to teach your children, because if you don't teach your children, listen, if you don't teach your children, is it going to be Yah's fault when they get put to death?
No,
No, it's whose fault is it?
the parents.
It's your parents' fault. So if you want to ignore what because the Most High is saying, these are not your words. Those are my words. Those are my judgments that go along with my Torah that goes with the 10 words. So they're not your words. They're my words that you didn't get a chance to hear because you were a coward and you ran back to your tent. So now I'm telling you straight up that this is what I'm holding you responsible for. So because you didn't want to hear, you want to hear from Moshe, right? So now I'm giving it to you through Moshe. That's why it's written for you. He made a copy. And over time, that copy's been going down and down and down and down, and you got a copy of it. I just want to give you the heads up to let you know this is what I'm judging people for. And all because you say you didn't know doesn't mean that you're not guilty. All because you said my kids didn't know and I raised them to be Christians. And now that you know, you tell your child, like I tell my kids. Because whose judgments are they? If they don't listen to him, those are not my words. Those are his words. My job is to tell them what he said. Somebody tell me how many times he tell you need to teach your children. When?
When you wake up.
When you get up in the morning, when you're walking along the way, and before you lay down. So is Yah playing with us?
Nope.
He's not. But he wants us to know it because, and listen, and it's out of necessity in order to keep the environment that we're going to be in, right? The environment that we're going to be in, this is what the environment is going to be. Now, a lot of people believe that, that they can play right now because they're not in the land, right? That's the game. I'm not in the land, so this doesn't apply to me. But Yah says I don't change. So if I told my children this and they didn't listen, you think Yah's going to let them go?
No.
No. He's already told us, I killed Aaron's sons and I killed Judah's sons before he even got the Torah. I killed them because I didn't like their mindset towards me. I told Moshe that I will kill every last one of you and start over with one of you. I don't need any of you. And I come this way, as he stated, so you can learn how to fear me, so you won't sin against me. Because these are divine mishpatim. These are not men's words. These are heavenly words. These are words that are spoken from the heavens. So that's why they hold precedence over everything. They're ruling over everything. I don't care what your mama said. I don't care what your church said. I don't care what your government said. And you can't pull it off right now, and I know you can't. I know you can't. But what I'm trying to do is to let you know I'm giving you an opportunity to change your ways. Because I asked your ancestors before, I gave them my laws and my commandments, and what did? They abhorred them. They hated them. They wouldn't listen to none of them, even my Shabbats. So I just reversed it. Remember, I took them out and tried to teach them. Not this time. Next time you go to the wilderness, that's where you either going into the land or you're being destroyed. So right now is your opportunity to change your mind. Start asking questions. Start trying to learn. And that's it. That's all it's going to ever be.